I was so dumb to hang out with him. I was one of tons of people who wish they never even met him. Every single minute I was around him, I totally regretted and said sorry that I ever did that. I also met Jeffrey Epstein just one single time. I felt bad about it the moment I walked through the door. I had bad dreams about it later. So, picture this, you're chilling down there drinking cocktails while Bill Clinton is getting a massage from some girl who's pressing herself against the back of his head, whether she knew what was up or not, and maybe having sex with girls who are too young. Maybe for some guys that was what they were into, because it really seemed like that was Epstein's thing. Yeah. Joe Rogan straight up said something out loud that nobody saw coming and named some of his closest buddies who showed up in the Epstein files. The newest batch of more than 3 million documents, emails, and videos put out by the Department of Justice showed some of the biggest, most powerful people in the world linked to Jeffrey Epstein. And today, we're gonna go through all the names that popped up in those files. It's such a mess. The whole situation is just, I think anyone who looks at it sees this as a crazy deep rabbit hole that goes straight to the middle of the planet. And so many people are mixed up in it. Here's the huge question everyone keeps asking. If there was a Jeffrey Epstein and it looks like he was doing all these bad things, is there another Jeffrey Epstein out there right now that nobody knows about? There are a million of them. A million of them. I mean, that's why I find this whole thing, it's not the main thing I talk about. But I think it's a super interesting thing to study because it helps explain so many other parts of the US government and how government and big companies connect. Jeffrey Epstein was one of T.H.'s professional fixers. And this is a whole group of people who don't really sit inside one government office or one company but in that messy space in between that links everything together. Less than a week ago, the Department of Justice put out over 3 million pages of records, around 2,000 videos, and about 180,000 images from different investigations connected to Epstein. Most of these records had big black marks over stuff. That even though names were hidden and faces were covered, once you start putting the pieces together, you see that famous politicians, super rich people, CEOs, and even the British royal family were all tied to Jeffrey Epstein even after he got arrested. What's crazy is that these weren't just random meetings or quick hellos. The papers have flight records, inside emails, phone lists, promises under oath, and video proof that kept putting the same big names near Epstein for years. You're seriously telling me there's a spot where they take important people to trap them with underage girls and film the whole thing? For real? Come on, get out of here. No way. President Clinton went there. Everyone went there. What? It sounds totally fake. And not only is it real, but people keep ending up dead over it. Did you hear about that latest Clinton advisor who got killed? Yep. Yeah. Hung himself with an extension cord in the chest 30 miles from his house and they're calling it a suicide. And now even Elon Musk is asking where's the list of who went there. Yeah, we should probably see who's been to that island. Yeah, we should probably see who's been to that island. Now, here's the deal. Joe knew about Epstein's island way before any of this stuff blew up. According to him, Alex Jones was warning him about Epstein way back, long before it became big news. Joe said Alex Jones kept saying something really bad was going on at Epstein's island, saying it wasn't just a fun spot for rich folks to hang out, but a place where big shots were getting set up and trapped. Back then, Rogan thought it was nuts. It sounded way too wild, too hard to prove, and honestly too crazy to believe. But now looking back, Joe says that's what makes this whole thing so scary. He was the guy who told me about Epstein's island more than 10 years ago, and I thought it was the wildest thing I'd ever heard. I was like, what are you talking about? There's an island. It sounds like something from a movie. There's an island where they fly in famous rich scientists and politicians and trap them with underage girls and film it so they can use it to control them. What? That sounds like lizard people stuff. It sounds like, 5G causes coronavirus or whatever. But it turned out to be true and it's just one of many things. He was the first one to warn me about a social credit score system. He's like, they're gonna try to start a social credit score system and tie your money to it. They'll have digital money that's not controlled by banks and your cash will be linked to your social credit score and if you mess up, you won't be able to buy stuff. You won't be able to travel. You won't be able to do anything. They're gonna try to keep you stuck in a 15-minute area around your house. And they're already starting that in some places. With this new batch of stuff coming out, though, everything is slowly starting to click. And the names of the people in it are wild. What's crazy is how many of these names were already being whispered about years ago, quietly brought up and then shut down fast. Back then, the news called them just coincidences or links that weren't proven. But with the latest pile of papers, those same names are showing up again. With real dates, repeated contacts, and straight connections to Epstein's whole setup. And the head of a big law firm is quitting his job because of his link to Jeffrey Epstein. Paul Weiss Law Chair Brad Karp said in a statement, quote, "Recent stories have made a distraction and put attention on me that's not good for the firm." The firm says Karp will stay with the company, just doing a different job. Senior Washington reporter Will Stason is here with more. Hi, Will. So, what's the latest on this growing list of important people getting heat over the Epstein files? Yeah, Diane. Well, I think Mr. Karp here is kind of the newest person hit by these Epstein files. Like you said the super powerful law firm Paul Weiss said that Mr. Karp would be stepping down after his name showed up in these files. Now the law firm didn't say why Mr. Karp is leaving, and before this the law firm said Mr. Karp did nothing wrong, but with this new release his name is in the files mostly with his assistant trying to set up meetings with Mr. Epstein. But there's also an email between Mr. Karp and Epstein where he's asking if he could help get his son some kind of job in a coming Woody Allen movie. So I think these emails are obviously causing more trouble across lots of different businesses. It's kind of the newest mess here. Saw recently that popular wellness influencer Peter Aia also left his job at the protein company Bill Gates is one of the names getting hit the hardest. A photo of Bill Gates standing with a woman whose face is blacked out was in the files. There were also emails between Gates and Epstein that showed Gates was trying to keep a sexually transmitted disease secret from his wife after being around Russian girls. As soon as those emails went public, Bill Gates right away put out a statement saying they were totally ridiculous and 100% not true. He also said Epstein was trying to blackmail or ruin him by sending an email in 2013 that even said he tried to give antibiotics to Melinda just in case she got sick too. Listen to Melinda Gates, Bill Gates' ex-wife, talking about all this. Whatever questions are still out there of what I don't even know all of it. Those questions are for those people and even for my ex-husband. They need answers to those things, not me. Well, and I am so happy to be away from all the mess that was there. She's glad she's not married to Bill Gates anymore. She's glad to be out of the mess, like she said. And we just saw this interview with Bill Gates on Channel 9. It's factually true that I was only at dinners. I never went to the island. I never met any women. And so, the more that comes out, the more clear it'll be. That although the time was a mistake, it had nothing to do with that kind of behavior. There we go. Never met any women. Wow. This is getting more and more interesting, Esther. Yes, it is. And unfortunately for Bill Gates now he probably has to deal with people thinking at least that Melinda left him and got out of that world. Also because of his connection or his shaky links which he says aren't real with Jeffrey Epstein. The claim that he probably got an STD from a Russian prostitute connected to Jeffrey Epstein was actually written in a note Jeffrey Epstein wrote to himself. One of the more personal parts of all this is how it hurt Gates' marriage. Melinda Gates has been really open that Epstein being involved helped her decide to leave. She said in talks that finding out was really painful and set off big warning signs for her way before their divorce, especially about Bill's choices in hanging out with Epstein after he got convicted. I also met Jeffrey Epstein exactly one time. Did you? Yes. Because I wanted to see who this guy was. And I regretted it from the second I stepped in the door. He was awful. He was pure evil. I had nightmares about it afterwards. So, my heart breaks for these young women because that's how I felt. And here I'm an older woman. My God, I feel so bad for those young women. It's terrible. I have to talk about the big thing everyone's thinking right now. Your ex-husband, Bill, is named in the newest bunch of Epstein files and there are new claimed details about his old behavior and I want to let you say whatever you want. Well, let me say this. I think we're having a big wake-up as a society, right? No girl should ever be put in the spot they were put in by Epstein and whatever was happening with all the different people around him. No girl, I mean, it's just beyond sad, right? I remember being the ages those girls were. I remember my daughters being those ages, right? So for me it's personally tough whenever those details come up, right, because it brings back memories of some really hard times in my marriage, but I have moved past that. I pushed it away on purpose and I moved on. I'm in a really surprising beautiful spot in my life. So, whatever questions are still out there of what I don't even know all of it, those questions are for those people and even for my ex-husband. They need answers to those things, not me. Bill keeps saying Epstein was trying to blackmail him, and he's not the only one doing that. Dozens of other people in the files have given the same reason, and they're all saying Epstein was trying to squeeze them for money or favors. According to these people, Epstein supposedly gathered info, emails, and bad stuff to use against them. And at first glance, that story might sound okay. Epstein obviously hung around powerful people. And lots of people who saw things have said he liked to record everything. But here's where it starts not adding up. If Epstein was blackmailing all these people, then the big question is, why did so many of them keep meeting him over and over? And how did he even get close to them? Joe has a really interesting thought about how it all worked. Let me just be straight, what do you think if I put a gun to your head? What's your best guess about who Epstein was and who he was working for? Well, I don't know for sure, right? So, I'm just guessing. Everybody wants to say he worked for Mossad. He probably did. He could have worked for the CIA. He could have been doing his own thing but also helping them, right? Like a guy they used but never fully backed, like an asset. Yeah. And a guy who could move cash around. He was really good at hiding where money came from. The moving money part was super strange because he had tons of money and nobody could explain how. Yeah, he had a huge amount of money with no clear reason anyone could figure out, which, you know, if you're getting money from a government, you're funded by Israel and Israel's funded by America, and you know there are also NGOs and nonprofits and ways to pass money so you can give this guy cash. Yeah. So he was like Weinstein, who is actually an economist, right? Weinstein's a real mathematician. Eric, yeah. So when Eric met him, his first thought was he was fake. He's made up. Yeah. A made-up thing. And did he tell you the whole story about the girl on his lap? So Epstein, while meeting Eric Weinstein for the first time, has a pretty woman sitting on his lap, and a woman I shouldn't call girl. She was, he said, like in her 20s, and she's sitting on his lap and he's moving around. Her sitting there bouncing while he's asking math questions. Yeah. Talking serious stuff. So he was clearly trying to hook smart nerdy guys. He was fishing for nerds, and I think he caught a bunch in that trap. Epstein wasn't doing this by himself. One guy doesn't just suddenly become super close with royal families in Saudi Arabia and England out of nowhere. You're telling me some random money guy somehow got full access to kings, presidents, and billionaires with no help? That's not how power really works. Epstein didn't just luck into those groups. Someone put him there. Connections like that come from people who open doors, go-betweens, and groups that gain from keeping certain folks linked and certain secrets hidden. Royal families don't hang with random money people unless someone they trust is saying he's okay. And that's the hardest part of this whole story to swallow. Someone in the government was likely helping him. A lot of those guys ended up going to that island. They probably thought, this is awesome. We get to have fun. Nothing's free. And they probably felt like big stars because they got to chill with super smart people on an island with a guy who's just a super rich giver who's a little weird and just loves women. He's a guy who says he's single forever, and it all looked too perfect. So perfect. Because it wasn't real. So I think he was some kind of helper, whether it was just for Mossad or Israel or the US or whatever, whether it was CIA or what, I don't know. But I think it was probably part of a plan to trap and control people. Yeah. Because those guys, there's a dirty secret about people in Congress, they party, okay. They're normal guys and normal women in their 30s or 40s or whatever, and every once in a while they do coke and get drunk, and they're just people. Remember that DC madam who had a whole list of names and then she killed herself? She said, I'm not. And see, yeah, because there's probably a bunch like that. And those kinds of trap setups, they let these weirdos know like, hey, you're safe with me. Charlie's got it all covered. Look, Bill Clinton used to come here. Don't stress. And we're heading to the island. And that's a huge sign it's okay. It's like presidents were here, so it must be safe. Exactly. We're on the island with Bill. This is cool. And all these girls show up and you're like, wow, this is like Christmas in summer. Bill is really into string theory. He'd love to chat with you about string theory. So, you're sitting down there having cocktails while Bill Clinton's getting a massage from some girl who's rubbing her boobs against the back of his head while she rubs him. Yeah. He's like, hey, that's really cool. Hey, I'm kinda tired. Gonna take a nap. Another thing about black holes. Yeah. Yeah. And I think they all thought it was this nice mix of powerful people and super smart people. And then someone was just collecting bad stuff on all of them. Guys cheating on wives. Guys, whether they knew or not, having sex with girls who are underage. Maybe for some guys that was exactly what they wanted. Sure. Because it really seemed like with Epstein Hat was his main thing. Yeah. 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 That's what I think too. And I don't think there's any proof either. I think it's all been I don't think it was kept with the deal he made and I don't think there's any list that's gonna show a clear smoking gun. That's all. I don't know about that. I think it's all been, handled. I think you can look at every file. But that's the truth. Why did they have all those files? Why did they show off with those binders? Because remember those photo moments where they were like, look, we have the Epstein files right here, and they held up binders. Like, what kind of fake show is that if you don't really have the Epstein files? And what I mean is, I think if they're keeping stuff secret, it's because it's video of underage girls or it's video of the victims who don't want it out, and the Justice Department can't put that public, they can't show it to Congress, that's all locked away for privacy, right? Well, that's what they say, but then now they're saying there are no files, they're saying there's no video. I'm telling you, I don't know. I think they have video. I think if you have an island and you want to trap people, you can't just go on what people say. I would say I saw him with that girl. Let's sue him. No, that's not how it goes. You need video and then you show it to the guy like, Mr. Clinton, sit down. Yeah. This might sound nuts, but here's the thing. The newest Epstein file drop also showed more about how close Epstein was to people in Donald Trump's close group. While Trump himself says he did nothing wrong and says he stopped talking to Epstein years back, his name shows up hundreds of times in the new papers. More important, some of Trump's close friends, like Steve Bannon, Elon Musk, and Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick, show up in emails and messages keeping in touch with Epstein years after his first arrest and guilty plea. Elon Musk shows up in the new Epstein files, mostly in emails from 2012 to 2013, talking about maybe meeting up, travel ideas, and even maybe going to Epstein's island in the Caribbean. One email supposedly has Musk asking, what day/and night will be the wildest party on your island? Which doesn't really match his old claim that he turned down Epstein's invites. The papers also suggest Epstein was trying to get himself in the middle of Musk's friends and work world. Musk says though he never went to the island, never flew on the Lolita plane, and says the emails are being twisted or picked to make him look guilty. Bottom line, the files prove he knew Epstein. And a high-up Justice Department person says the check of the Jeffrey Epstein files is finished. The same person said there won't be any new charges. Now the Trump people are getting criticism from Epstein victims and Democrats. This was California Congressman Ro Khanna yesterday. There is a call for powerful people to answer, but the victims' lawyers I've talked to say the victims are still mad. They're mad that some of their names got out by accident without black marks and they want the rest of the files released. CBS News Justice reporter Scott McFarland is here from Washington with more. Scott, you've been going through as much as you can. What's in this so-called last group? It's taking time. We're still digging through millions of pages here, Errol. And it's important these came out more than 40 days late past the legal time the Department of Justice was supposed to do it. No one except Epstein and his old partner Ghislaine Maxwell has faced charges. But the Department of Justice saying hey redone has just made more people upset. Joe talked about this too. The way the government looks nervous and almost afraid to let the files out. He said if there was really nothing bad, they'd have dropped everything at once, no hiding, no edits. Instead, it's coming out slow, in little pieces, full of blacked out parts, weights, and weak reasons. Even after Congress ordered it out, the Justice Department missed dates and said big chunks are still being held back about the Epstein stuff like before we started. Like first of all, like the photo drop and the emails. It's crazy. Well, it's also they're doing it super slow. Like you guys have had this for a year. Like don't and we were told over and over. It's coming. It's coming. Doesn't it seem like you could just feed it all to AI now? Yes. And just black out the victims' names and done. Yeah, of course. It seems like it'd take 5 minutes. I mean, you can't help thinking the people in charge are just protecting themselves and that's why. Protecting someone's back. I mean, it's all guessing why they haven't let it out. But it's not good. It's not good for trust. It's also not good that this weird trap thing was happening. That's really strange. Very odd. Very weird. But it kind of fits because if you're a 60-year-old super rich guy and you're into weird stuff and you like to get wild, but you're famous as a huge software guy and everyone knows your face. Like it's tough to do that stuff. Well, that's the point, like it makes sense when you think some of these guys really loved going there. It's like that's the only spot they can go, right? You can't do it anywhere else, right? And that's why they made it for them. Yeah. Eric Weinstein told me that once and I was like, oh, okay. That clicks. If you're the ex-president of the United States, you can't just hit a club. Yeah. He said, I think there are people who offer special experiences for certain folks who really want them. I was like, of course, of course. And that's also how they control people, right? Oh, yeah. That's how they make you vote how they want and play along. Bobby, we got video. You doing that? Yeah. Yeah. What do you want to do? What do you want to do? Yeah. Because I bet all those people have dirt on them. That's how they stay powerful. It's like skull and bones. You gotta do it. Well, look at like otherwise we can't trust you. For the Epstein stuff look at who was going there. I mean, it's all top-level power, influence, and fame. Yeah. And so you think, yeah, this guy wants to do some crazy stuff. He can't go to a strip club. He can't do it. He's gotta go somewhere. Yeah. What sounds better than a private island? Yeah. He can't just call up an escort. Nope. Too dangerous. Where you headed? I'm going to Captain Billionaire's place to do stuff. I do it every Tuesday. Plus, I'm on meth. We're just scratching the top of what's in those files. Joe even brought up the Pizzagate idea. He said once you follow the clues, flight lists, island trips, emails, and papers without blackouts, patterns start showing that regular news mostly skips. The newest Epstein files brought back talk about the Pizzagate idea because there are almost 900 mentions of pizza in millions of documents. While Pizzagate got mostly called fake after a crazy shooting at Comet Ping Pong in 2016, these emails show Epstein and his friends using pizza and other normal-sounding words over and over. Some groups online see it as Secret code, connecting Epstein's real crimes to something bigger. Tell me what you think. Which parts shocked you the most? And don't forget to like the video if you want us to keep going through every new bit that comes out.